I am Robert Lilligren. I'm the Vice President of the Minneapolis City Council. I represent the 6th Ward in Minneapolis, which is sort of a collar community just off of downtown, characterized by new arrivals. Over 40% of my constituents are foreign-born. There is no majority race or culture within my ward. It's a very eclectic and diverse and dynamic community. I've been on the Minneapolis City Council since 2001. I have lived in the southwest corner of what's called the Phillips community in Minneapolis, which is a diverse and sometimes challenged area. And when I moved to the Phillips area in 1982, I was a very young man and I had just bought my first home. And shortly after my arrival in the community, crack arrived on the scene in Minneapolis, and what had been a low-income, kind of interesting community very quickly became a violent and dangerous community. In my early term of living on my block, 2 people were shot dead right on the street in my block. There were shootings. I had done some initial sort of outreach and organizing and realized there were about 50 kids right in my little corner of the world, and you never saw them outside ever. It was too dangerous to play. It was too dangerous to be outside. You might see them scurrying to and from the school bus or something like that. There's also a financial crunch and a foreclosure crisis in the mid to late 80s, early 90s in Minneapolis, and so people were just abandoning properties in my area, abandoning properties on my block. So Lake Street, which had been this part of Lake Street in Minneapolis had been characterized by porn shops and sort of the sex industry. Those all got boarded, homes got boarded, and it was pretty bleak. And in the mid to late 80s, I had to decide what to do, and I had resources and I could go someplace else. And instead of doing that, like a lot of my neighbors were, I made a determination to stay, and I thought, I could go and not see this, but this would still be happening, and would I be a good person or a better person by leaving, or is there an opportunity here? And so then with my then partner, who is now my business partner, we decided to stay and to invest in the area and to invest of ourselves. And we created a mission statement that I still operate by today, we still operate by today, which was to build a community where children feel safe to play and grow. And I would say that is still my mission, even from this perspective, being a city council member in Minneapolis. It started so simply. We went out and started picking up litter. That was our first thing. And I gotta tell you, it was so hazardous. There were crack dealers threatening your lives while you picked up litter. There were prostitutes. And this litter thing, there are 2 fast food restaurants on my block, and those generate a lot of litter. And it was so degraded. There was just literally, I'm sure, tons of litter everywhere. And so we just started picking up litter and picking it up and trying to make it look a little less desperate in the area, and it gave us the opportunity to connect with some neighbors as we picked up litter and to start some basic organizing. And one thing we learned, that litter was a tool of the crack trade, and that litter was used as a stash for drugs or money. And so occasionally we'd pick something up and get approached by the dealers and drop that, hey, drop that, hey, drop that, and you'd be like, okay, but it removed that tool from the industry. They couldn't use litter anymore. So we were doing it to try to beautify the area and to try to encourage people to feel a little better about where we lived. But what it did was inhibited the crack trade that was going on around us. And I was raised in a sort of rural or, ex-urban community where there was this expectation that you involved yourself in your community. You tried to make your community a better place. And I had only lived in the city, maybe a decade by then, 9 or 10 years. And it really struck me, the fact that I had to cross this barrier. I had to learn that I deserved to live in a nice community. There are kids here who didn't have that example. And this is where they're growing up, and they're going to go out in the world with this sense that they don't deserve to live in a nice area, and that hurt. And it was a big, aha moment for me. When I first moved to the area, my part of Lake Street, East Lake Street, was characterized by these porn shops, quarter movies, saunas and things like that. And now it's predominantly new arrival and immigrant businesses. And as we were kind of working to improve the area and investing in the area, I always knew it would get better. I always knew that. I always believed that. Good things will come here. But I did not know that it would, speak Somali or Spanish and, import all of this new culture into the area. And now that it has, it's so cool. It's so much cooler than I thought it would be. And a lot of activists have this attitude that things won't get better, and I'll sit across the table from activists and who have pushed and shoved and kicked doors open to gain access, and then when they get to the table where they can actually make things better and start working on the policy of something or to change the laws or change the rules, they can't stop fighting. And on probably half a dozen occasions I've sat in this office and had conversations with activists, and I've said to them, you gained access. Congratulations. Your fight has been worthwhile. You're at the table now. Now's the time to do the work to change the system, and you can stop fighting for access and start fighting to change the system. And I had to say to people, and it's been kind of hard, if you aren't the one to sit at the table, if you're not the one to help change the system, please go away and send someone from your organization or send someone from your cause who can sit at the table and work to change the system. My dad is Native American and my mom isn't, and so I'm a tribal member. I'm a member of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe. And so in my earliest years and in growing up, we had this very colorful array of people, and I had kind of these two different families. I had my mom's family, which was urban, European, working class family and all of those values. And then I had my dad's family, which was Native American and kind of split their time between the urban core and the reservations. And there was a much more casual sort of definition of family. Having that example, this sort of multicultural, this cultural melange, that did give me a lot of tools to do this job. And I rely on that a lot. I think this sense that no group is better, no culture or language or worldview is better than any other, but that they all kind of come together and they're all as equally valid. My 33,000 constituents and and the 500,000 people in the city need opportunity and need representation, and that the kind of core city voice doesn't always get heard within the city and within government, and so that's what I feel like is kind of my role here. If you're going to do this kind of work, if you're going to try to make the world a better place, you have to believe that it can be a better place.